That's really great. Thanks, Kishomar. So that was also a nice thought from your side. So I'm coming to Ranganathan as a customer. So what you prefer, like whether you will be checking whether he is having some experience or maybe a certification part as a project manager before you go for, go with a company or maybe with some project manager. Are you be checking as a customer?
Yeah, see, certificate, I think echo is coming. Just 1 second, let me go out and hello. Uh, yeah, yeah. Certification, it is just like see, when somebody says somebody says he is new to the project or this is his first project, then you may have to rely on some certificate. But when there is an experienced person, then the experience gets precedence over certification. Because okay, somebody is well experienced, he has executed 2 3 projects. Then what is the purpose of relying on the certificate? Show me your certificates. I mean, it becomes a little bit redundant. But I would say, still, I would say, in certificate, while getting certification, you get certain theoretical knowledge which cannot be provided by your experience. So, and secondly, certification works as a what you call as a gateway to one of the gateways, not a gateway, one of the gateways to cleansing a project. It just helps. It won't help on a large scale, but finally it is execution which is going to count. Because if you are not, if you have done everything well, then nobody is going to, whether you have done with a certification or not, nobody is going to refer to that, and vice versa. Thank you.
Yeah. So KK, you want to add something at this point, KK?
Yeah, so not just about not about certification, Harry, but I have a different question that I want to put it on the table in front of this group. So we are all project managers, or we were project managers at one point in our career. So what is the opinion of the general group here? Is the success of a project something which only the project manager should be concerned about? Or is it only, to rephrase, is it only the project manager's responsibility to ensure that a project goes into a successful culmination and it is a success? Is it something that rests only on a project manager? So where does the responsibility of a project manager ends? I have my own views on that, but I wanted to hear the group's view on that as well.
Exactly. We'll go surely go with that. So Anu, before going with that question, you can add your thoughts on the certification part, and then you can actually means add more points to KK's question. Yeah, Anu.
All right. A quick answer I would say is, if I was asked, would a certification help? The answer is yes. In the sense, it will never hurt. I've never seen any situation where having a certification will hurt someone. But there are caveats to it. So, sort of like, I think a lot of them, KK and Krishnamar and Madhu have touched on them. First, you got to take certifications in the proper order. See, I think globally, that anything from or PMP from PMI is maybe the most recognized one. But you cannot take a PMP if you are starting in project management. You cannot even do it in the first year or two. You need a few years. I took it a few years ago, so I don't remember. I don't know how many hours are mandated to take it. But there's a reason for that, because they also, PMI themselves, value the practical experience and knowledge uh, that you gain from practical experience. Only after that uh, do they in fact allow you to write the PMP. And so then they came up with CAPM that even that I believe requires maybe a couple of years of experience. So having such a globally renowned certification will definitely give you a leg up. If a client was comparing you with a certification against somebody who didn't have certification, just on face value, you would definitely have that leg up. Whether you actually have the knowledge, like KK said, whether you're able to explain, let's just say, theoretical concepts, whether you can talk about how you experienced and came out of real life scenarios, that's a different matter. but that certification will always help. And again, there is a proper order to do it. Uh, you just can't. There's no point in doing it in any order. And you should also take something that will help you. If you if you're just starting out in Scrum and you try and be a disciplined agilist, or you take safe agilist, which is typically meant for larger projects, it won't help. So start do that in the proper order, and that will definitely help your career. And also, whoever talked about this, there is a there is an amount of um theoretical knowledge that you will get. You don't necessarily have to do it just to beef up your resume. You will definitely get knowledge, and it'll amount to some kind of experience, just with that knowledge. So that's what I would say about that. Then quickly, just going to what KK just asked. Uh, the PM is definitely responsible for a successful project. And how you define a successful project, we touched on earlier. A client may have their own definition, and you have to probably go along with that. But it is never the PM's sole responsibility, or it is not only the PM's responsibility to do it. Uh, if the client doesn't support the PM, or if the development or testing or any other stakeholders don't support the PM is going to have a hard time. So yeah, yes, somebody said the PM is the captain, but it is not a sole single man ship. Everybody has to support in whatever capacity they can.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah,
point.
and there is a reason why I asked that question, because in my experience, I've come across like a lot of project managers, especially during this beginning period of their project management career. So they are somehow under this misconception that it is entirely their responsibility to drive a project towards communication, and often it's a demographic trait as well, because um, I worked with several nationalities. What I felt was that when it comes to project management, especially in our demography, people always tend to say the things that pleases you, right? Or at least the things that would make you happy. So more often that not, like the real risk or the underlying issues or the things that ought to have caught the management's or the senior leaders attention is often kind of like camouflaged, and until at a point where it really explodes and come out, and at that point in time things have gone beyond the point of no recovery. So often quizzed the project managers about like why did that happen. Now, why did you not like bring it up early in the game, so that like we could have done something about it? And the obvious answers that I received was like like I never wanted to project the status as going wrong, because that would be a direct reflection on my ability as a project manager to drive this towards completion. So it is something that I have had a discussion with several project managers several times, that it is not just your responsibility that projects are successful. Projects can be successful only if all the cogs in this wheel like work in a very systematic order, like a well-oiled machine. A project manager alone cannot bring anything towards a successful culmination. And do not ever be under that impression that you are responsible, and while in that process like end up not disclosing the hard truths or facts, or bring up the things that need attention. And I found a very stark difference, like when I used to work with people from the other geography. For example, Americans are best at it. If there is something that goes wrong in the project, it doesn't matter like what is their designation, what is the role that they're playing. In my experience, you might have had a different experience, but the Americans that I have dealt with, like they always bring it up. They don't have any kind of hesitance in bringing that up in any kind of forum, saying that this is something which is going wrong, and unless you fix this will be, and this will end up in a total catastrophe. So that was the intention behind that question. you know do project managers believe that they are 100% responsible for this? Just to add in some additional context.
Yeah, that's KK's question is very clear, and the points actually he mentioned is really giving value. Like as a project manager, whether he should be a more responsible person for all the blockers or the issues, or he whether he is a person who can be appreciated for the successful of a project. That we can actually define in two ways, like whether he is the person to get all the blame, and whether he is the only person he is to be appreciated for the successful of a project. So as an agilist, or maybe as an agile practitioner, maybe I can say like the whole team's responsibility comes in shoulder of a person. But sorry, so whole it doesn't mean that he is the only person he'll be a successful project manager. But at any point of time, if we feels any risk, or maybe if we feel any blockers, we should actually, as KK mentioned, as the other team, like other, not from India, from other countries, the persons will be doing like they'll be bringing it on top of the table, and we'll be discussing, and we'll be shortlisting, and we'll be finding some solutions. So like that, we should always follow that pattern. Like we should bring up on the table, and we should discuss on that part, find some solution for that. So if it's a problem from a team, we should be discussing that with the team, or if it's actually from a stakeholder perspective, we should be taking up it on the table, and we should be discussing on that part. Or if it's from a product owner perspective, we should be discussing that. Or if it's from a budget part, we should discuss that with the company management. So that's actually the person who should be leading that should be a project manager. But it's not his responsibility to get blame for that, or get advantage of whether the project is success or not. That maybe I'm just pausing over here to hear more from others, like from Madhu, Anurag, KK, and everybody. Like, yeah, Madhu, you can add.
Yeah, Harry. Actually, I missed little bit of that part what you're talking, but like yeah. So we talked about certifications, and now Harry, can you please explain it to me
Yeah,
because I just
sure,
got
sure, please.
actually
Because
stuck in
KK,
thought.
KK was actually means asking a question like whether the project owner, also the project manager, is a person who is the person who should be taking the responsibility of a successful of a project, or maybe whether he is the person to take all the pressure on his shoulders, or whether it's a collaborative thing, or at which point he can be raise his hand, or maybe raise a flag, because so maybe KK, if you want to add something on this part, like,
Yeah, no, no, I
yeah,
heard that. Yeah, so I heard that. Yeah. Okay. Now, project manager is not the sole responsible person, but the thing is, project manager will be the sole accountable person. You know what I mean? Because the whole team is responsible for delivering the project, delivering their objectives. But at the end of the day, say like if something go wrong, project manager is the one to get the blame. So project manager will be accountable at the end anyway. So we can't wash our hand and move on saying, okay, it's not our project and our team didn't perform well. We cannot do that. Project manager have to be that captain on the ship, like KK always say, like that accountability we have to keep because we can't delegate the accountability. But the responsibility now, especially in today's environment, whole team is responsible, and even the stakeholders. So like you have to understand the requirements of the stakeholders and work with the stakeholders, like product owner, and then project team and the scrum team. Like we have to work together and we have to deliver that. But if something go wrong, like can you pass the accountability? No. So that is where I am coming from. I think always project manager have to take the responsibility and the accountability, and then delegating, working together, self-organized team. All these things are beautiful and working also, but like accountability, we cannot delegate. We have to take that. I think that is my view, Hari.
thanks, Madhu. So I'm just moving to Anurag. So what's your point? What's your thought on this?
Yeah, I think nowadays, for the waterfall method, maybe we can tell okay, the manager is the complete person who take care of the team, and if something goes wrong, he have to uh, manage the team, and he has to taking the ownership. Okay, but when it is coming to the Scrum, Agile, the Safe Agile, and all, like stakeholders are sometimes directly interacting with the developers, and sometimes the product owners also. And for example, like if is there any kind of problem happen, and if the like I give you my own example, if they want to random some people, okay, so then directly tell okay, this person has to leave from the team, okay. So I feel like in that area on the it's like a teamwork, and the project manager and all, like he's the facilitator to managing the team, and they're facing any kind of the people issue and other stuffs, and they are managing that. I feel he is not the complete responsible person for the entire project.
Yeah, thanks, Anu, for adding that part. So I'll be coming to KK at the last, he can conclude on this part. So I'm going to SP.
Hi. I completely agree with Madhu ma'am what she said. The accountable person should be the project manager. That is why he is called as a project manager. That's all.
Fine. Thanks, SP. So Krishnamar.
It's depend upon the project. If I say, I will tell you one example. Okay, so there was we here. Okay, always say, okay, it's not a rocket science, but take it as a rocket science. You may be recently hear that okay, there is a satellite lost due to a wiring issue, right? It's so every department has done very well, and the project manager also planned very well. But one wiring issue because of one electrical engineer caused the failure of a that 300 million loss, right? So who is the going to blame here? It's the electrical engineer only, right? Or maybe that department. Okay, so it's not everybody is accountable. So it depends upon how the management defined. Okay, so I have seen many organizations look forward to the project manager seeing to grow the account. Okay, so maybe they initially they will start with the 10 people. Okay, especially on the small companies. Okay, people will look forward to grow the account like okay 10 people they will start. Then because of the quality and capability of this project manager, they will expect okay it will be a 15-member team by the end of next Q3 or Q4 kind of. Okay, then maybe unexpected delay in supplying of resources or maybe some unexpected factor, it may not happen. Okay, then obviously when the management meeting comes, it will be showcased as a project management failure, but still it's not his failure, right? It is coming from the TA team problem. So there are many factors to it. Okay, so it's again I will say how the company has defined it. Okay, but in US and all now it's like okay just managing that team, and only that team they have a project manager, and he is and it's not that typical Indian manager kind of stuff. He will manage the work and the flow. He will make sure that it is moving. Okay, here the manager is like a god. He has a control over people, and you need to. I have seen in a typical organization like TCS, Wipro, and all, you need to beg for leave for a project manager, even though you don't need to showcase your that okay unnecessary leaves approval or may not getting at all. Even I have faced the same situation. So when in 2008, I was going to marry, and I have asked for 15 days leave. Unfortunately, because of project pressures, I have returned within 5 days. Okay, so these kind of attitudes and how, okay, again, it's upon how you defined it, your organization defined it. Yeah.
So again, that's again a question like how the organization defines. So how exactly we should be means taking calls with these type of things. Like how can we add more values to that part as a project manager? So yeah, so SP, you want to ask also add something? Then
Yeah. See, I defer that Anirudh's comment because the project management is a global scenario that we use for. So it is not a dependency with the organization. If you are a good or the successful project, if you want to become a successful project manager, you should keep the quality of the manager as we get it from the certification, get it from PMI or whatever. So it is not the responsibility for the organization. It is the sole responsibility for the project manager, in my opinion.
okay, yeah, we'll come to that point at the next maybe in the next discussion, like whether responsibility maybe only with the project manager or with the organization too, because that is another topic we should be actually saying like what can be done from a project manager perspective towards an organization or towards a successful organization. What can be done from a project manager? That's a different topic. We are actually planning it in the next week. So that's actually a different level of discussion. So we'll be surely taking up that in the coming weeks. So let me move with the same current question. So Rengadanji, do you want to add something on that point, like the KK asked?
I almost concur with this opinion that, as I said earlier in my talk, project manager is the captain of the team. So when he is going to claim, when project becomes fruitful, he claims that under my leadership I have executed this, etc., etc. So when he is going to claim for the good work, naturally, if anything goes bad, he should be able to take the blame also. But the second part of that blame, I won't say that the blame should entirely fall on him. See, it is for him to analyze where things have gone wrong, who has done the mistake, and then internally, then he has to fix that accountability on someone else. It is because of this the project went bad, or the project got a bad name, or I got a bad name. That's it. That is sharing the criticism. But per se, it falls on the captain or the leader of the team or the project manager, because it is he who is going to hog the limelight when things go successful. So it is like a risk reward policy. So I'm almost concur with everyone's view in this. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sanganji. So, Anup, we already asked about your viewpoint. We already asked you your thoughts. Do you want to add something at this point, Anup?
Nothing else.
Okay, great. So we exactly done with an 1.5 hour session on a beautiful means discussions. Like we were sharing our thoughts. There were actually conflicting or maybe different thoughts. Even I'll be taking the same word what KK mentioned. Like there's a different thought. It's not a conflicting thoughts. Actually, that's actually the beauty of the more iterative discussions. So. Now if you this is actually open to the all platform, like the people who are actually sitting on the audience, or maybe you are in the speakers. So if you want to ask some questions, or if you want to clarify something, or if you want to add something to this particular topic, like how to be a successful project manager. So Shankar, yeah, Shankar want to add something at this point. Shankar, come on board. Shankar, I already invited you to speak. So, yes, Shankar, go ahead.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, thanks everyone. I was hearing to the whole discussion from last one hour. Thanks Hari for introducing to this group. I'm new to Clubhouse and this group. So my personal experience, I mean my professional experience, I'm into IT for last 15 years, 15 plus years. Been into service organization. Now currently working in a corporate sector. So I'm an architect, solution architect for Nokia, leading resource management as a platform from last 15 years. So I have a good experience on this resource management area as a tool wise, implementing to a couple of organizations. So one particular point I would like to add here is regarding, tool perspective. What kind of tools that you are designing for your project management to success, or your program management to success? So you have to think as an organization. You have to widely think. What kind of tools you can offer, what kind of booking methods or allocation perspective that you can think for your organization. So this is one of the key area. I mean, it's not only booking or your allocation. From the forecasting itself, or your predictive planning itself, it's important to have a tool capability within the organization. So let's say you're thinking that in next 6 months or 7 months, there'll be a couple of new projects, and you need X skill set. So these are kind of your forecasting importance. So it depends on your organization how you are defining your entire tool methodology. So that's one area I would like to touch upon, if you can add. Second area, the topic which you were discussing about the project success, whether it's a team responsibility or whether it's a individual project manager responsibility. So I would like to ask, include from my perspective or my current organization perspective, it's a team team success altogether always. Because example in Nokia, my current organization, the way we structured our organization is led by program manager, not by project manager. Project manager is a part of team, so he's all belongs to the same level. He's just a facilitator, he can just facilitate, but the decision making or reviews or requirements, there are dedicated teams. So we have a product owner, we have business analysts within the team, we have solution architect, we have enterprise architect. So all this leads to a project success. So it's not just only a project manager who can lead a project to success, because it's not just one project. There could be multiple project which is running in the program. So the whole responsibility leads to the program manager, and the team architect and product owner, because they are responsible for their product to deliver on time. They are responsible to up and run their product in the organization. This is the current sector, or trend sector in the organization. I mean, corporate sector. Maybe from the IT service organization, yeah, you have a different view, but when it's coming to the organization perspective, this is the current trend sector that led every organization. Thanks Hari, thanks everyone
Yeah.
to give a chance to speak.
Yeah, thanks, Shankar. So that's actually the 2 points we should actually discuss at this point, like on the tools part and as well as the other question actually Shankar raised. So we are actually coming to those. It means everybody on the platform can answer this. But before that, maybe I would like to go with Venu ji. So Venu.
Thank you, moderators, for giving me a chance. I wanted to quickly add 4 points. One, just sorry, I didn't introduce myself. So I work as a consultant, functional consultant. So I have worked in 4 industries, including IT service companies. My observation is that PM as a classical function has undergone a lot of changes in the last 5-10 years. First change that I have noticed is that there are a lot of operational tasks which were earlier handled by a PM has now been delegated to another new function called PMO. And PMO is now emerging as a new career track itself among the IT service company. That's one. So all those operational day-to-day functions like a billing, invoicing, leave tracker, everything has gone from the PM old classical work. One. Two. If you look at the IT service company, most of them were having 15% gross profit some years back. From there, they are actually now declining. They are struggling in 7 and 8. So when you come down from 15 to 8, automatically what you do as a company is to cut down on your overhead. Project management is one such function, where now they're trying to literally squeeze this function. So how they're trying to squeeze this function is not to take out this role from a project. Instead, they're trying to overload these project managers by either asking them, look, you need to take multiple projects. Typically, the number I have seen is about 20. So a PM needs to handle 20 people. So it could be 10 into 2, or say one large project of 20. That's one. Or you need to be handling 2 big RFPs, which are about say 500K. That is the new norm I have seen among the PMs. The third point is that I'm sure all of you agree. The waterfall method is no longer relevant in IT. It is the agile way of working. So the PM role has actually shifted from that old classical approach to a Scrum Master. So these are my quick observations. I'm happy to get corrected. Thank you so much for giving me a chance. Jai Hind.
Yeah, thanks, Venu. So yeah,
Can
KK.
I?
Yeah, KK.
Yeah. I just want to add like a couple of points to what like Venu said. So Venu, you brought in a very interesting perspective and a very valid one as well, which is very current. So your observation of overloading the PM role and having the PM role like take up multiple projects is in fact like happening as we speak. Even in my current organization, that is the way that we are approaching this. How do we empower the project managers to deliver more? But it's not just about like asking that person to take up additional role, but it's also about like building the right tools and techniques and practices to help him achieve that. For example, in my organization, like what I did was like we did a very comprehensive analysis of like what are the typical mundane things that a project manager do on a daily basis, and what are the things that really requires is a human intelligence or decision making process. So what I ended up doing was like we created a tool which will take care of more than 50% of the day-to-day activities of a project manager, starting from the tracking and all the way up to reporting. So even the status reports is something that is now created automatically using a tool based on the data that a project manager enters and the rest of the teams enter. So you don't have to really create a schedule anymore. You don't have to track it anymore. You don't have to report it out anymore, because it is all done by an intelligent tool these days. The tools at the end of every week will give you a perspective of what is your planned versus what is your actual. Based on the risk that you have entered and you are managing, it gives you what are the upcoming risks, what are the risks that you haven't mitigated, and what is going to be the impact, even the impact of those risks manifesting into issues. So a lot of these things are now handled automatically. So essentially, I was able to bring in at a savings of at least 3 FTs in every single project that a project manager manages in my organization by means of this automation. You're absolutely true. That is the way that the industry is going forward. And Shankar, to your point as well, tools and techniques. Just wanted to add that.
Sir, if I could just add a couple of observations more. One, even in the last 5 years, in addition to all your tools that you mentioned, as an industry, we are approaching towards full stack resource. We don't need work in silos. We are talking about the containers and Dockers and all those kind of transformations. So yes, the tool is just part of that whole journey. So Jaira, we are looking at centralized tool. Okay, thank you. One, but my observation is that along that you have a relevance of this Q quality function also emerging in the IT service company. So they're actually kind of putting more pressure on the PM side to ensure that, look, hey, you're not aligned or standardized, not doing a standardized approach. That's one. Second, what I personally felt is that I worked in large IT service companies, although I can't name them here. The pattern I've seen is that even if we perform well as a PM, it takes about 7 years to become a senior project manager, and from there to become a group project manager, and the DM is a really long tenure. So the trend I've noticed is that people are now trying to move away from that old IT service career ladder to something called IT captive. And if you really look around, IT captive is where the fastest growth is happening within the IT space, and people are actually trying to take up those companies, IT captives, where they really see a lot of different new skill set and different technology, because IT captive will make you work in new areas like typical analytics mobility. So that's the new learning a PM also equips when he works there, and in few years he will be more relevant for the same IT service. So few observations. Thank you. Sorry if I took more time. Sorry. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Venu. It is actually really relevant discussion. So it's actually not taking lot of time. It's actually really good thing. So thanks adding for that. But anyone want to add any points on this topic, like the question asked by Shankar on the tools part, and also on Venu's point? Yeah, Kishomar?
Yeah, I just want to add a point like, okay, see, the tools, who was saying? Okay, Shankar, right? Yeah, the problem now, I will tell you one scenario. It's like, okay, so again, it's depends upon the project budget. That is why I said, okay, it depends upon the organization level, the project management succeeds, and the accountability comes into picture. Why? Because see, in a client, one of our client, okay, he is one of the top client side manager he had, but the problem is the constraints of budget he is worrying about. Okay, so they need a monitoring tool. Okay, but the problem is some of our most of the cloud and many good monitoring tools we have already available in the market, but they were ultimately asking for, can we script it or can we customize on our own? Okay, it's because they don't want to spend more money on and the licensed version tool. Okay, so here it's not about efficiency or the speedy recovery and all. It's all budget. Okay, even though we have additional work to do, they need. Okay, maybe the client higher management has given instructions to him saying that, okay, cut the cost. Okay, so this kind of scenarios is already always affecting to the project management side. Okay, so we need to consider those parts also when we measure the successfulty of the project manager.
Thanks, Kishomar, for adding that point. So, anyone want to add anything at this point? I'm just opening this platform, like anybody on the audience or maybe in the speakers. So, Madhu, yeah, KK?
Yeah, maybe I'll just take like 1 quick minute to kind of add.
Yeah, your voice is little feeble now. Will you please? Yeah,
Is it okay?
somewhat fine. Okay.
Yeah, so just wanted to add to the point that Krishnamar mentioned about budget constraints. If I understand it right, you were talking, Krishnamar, about the budget constraints that could potentially limit your ability to bring
Sure, yeah.
monitoring tools, right? So again, like going back to that one instance that I was explaining about, like where we kind of like brought in that internal monitoring tool. But there are a lot of low code tools and techniques which are available out there. For example, Microsoft has come up with the Power Apps and the Power Automate platform, and which when coupled with the SharePoint is giving us really good results. And that is kind of a very very low code and very economical solution that we came up with. The whole build and the deployment of this monitoring tool that I spoke about, and it includes like certain cognitive abilities as well. It took us like close like 3 weeks of deployment. So in my opinion, there has to be a certain amount of investment, and which in this case is like very very minimal, which as an organization we would probably have to do, because that is ultimately going to give you some real long term benefits in the long run, right? So this is not something which can be applied only for one project, but maybe across the board. And the beauty of these low code platforms is that it is easily customizable based on that particular customer that you're handling. So maybe something probably you can start looking at uh, you know in your organization as well.
I got it. The problem, no, this is not a small client. Okay, it is a very big client. Okay, almost our 95 people are working over there, and they are executing more than millions of, so almost it's 40, 50 millions per year only on this side itself. But the problem is, I am talking about that particular track. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the nitty-gritties, but it's just sharing a prospective.
Yeah, got it. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, so Shankar, as you raised these points, uh, do you have anything more to add on the means on the questions you raised, like on the tools part, or maybe on the second point you mentioned, Shankar?
See, I just like to add, KK's comment. As he said, yes, these power apps of Power Automate, these are the few possibilities nowadays, emerging. So these are, low cost, plans, you can build, and you can deliver it for your internal purpose. But apart from that, there are plenty of tools. I mean, how you utilize, it depends on the organization, I think most of them from the service organization. So I'm not sure how service organizations are tracking, these project management activities, which is really important. But when it's coming to client side, we have some set of rules or regulations, to enlarge, to enwig for the project to success. So that's where, example, project online is one of the key area that Nokia is prefer to use, because it's always important to, understand your project success, through each of the cycles. So always, we prefer to use, a couple of tools. I mean, one of them, project online, that always, we prefer to use in our delivery organization. And apart from that, we have dedicated PPM tools like, micro focus PPM that are used in a couple of deliveries. We have SAP based PPM applications, which are, predominantly using. So these are all, kind of flavor, can enlarge. But apart from that, these are all corporate related applications which you need to, I mean, from the budget point of view, yes, these are all constrained. Put that kind of, budget will not be easy. But that's where, a low cost, related solutions are available nowadays in the market. There are a couple of open source tools available to track your project success, your, timesheet to fill utilization to understand. So there are a couple of open source. Apart from that, Power Automate, Power Apps, these are, kind of capabilities nowadays, Microsoft offering. So any organization can think, to adapt, these, low cost plans. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah,
Hari.
thank you, Shankar, for adding that points. So, in just again, I am asking to all the speakers, like, do you want to add any other tools that you are using, or maybe that you're already aware of, other than these two? Yeah, Madhu.
I think, Hanil, yeah, I just thinking about that. Basically, across all the industries we work with, project plan like MS Project Online and Primavera, you call Primavera, and then when it comes to IT like Jira, and these tools are very popular. So like they are expensive compared to all the open source tools, but like still people are comfortable with those tools. I think even I have a MS Project training coming up this weekend also. Like people still ask for those training, and I think yeah, those are still valid and still valid and still being used across various industries, not only IT. So yeah, so like there's a lot. Like you have to choose what's best for you, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, Madhu. So, Anurag, do you want to add anything at this point
Sorry, I didn't
uh,
miss
on the
your
tools
few
part?
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so coming to tools, actually my project we are using Azure DevOps, so saving almost all project management elements. So as we are following agile practice and it is very fit to for the agile project management. So, yeah, Azure DevOps we are using both.
Okay, so Azure DevOps also will do the lot for that. Yeah, so KK, do you want to add anything at this point?
No, I think we have pretty much covered everything. So my point was again, how do you leverage the robotics process automation that is,
Hmm.
a hot topic these days to kind of like even squeeze out. I mean, I wouldn't use the word squeeze out, but even optimize the way that project managers are handling their projects. So basically, my thought process is all about, how do we identify the things that doesn't really require any kind of human intervention or decision making capabilities, automate as much as possible so that like somebody was saying earlier, so yeah, Venu was saying earlier, how do we optimize the whole project manager's effectiveness and enable him to handle like more projects uh, with tools as enablers.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really great. Thanks, KK. So SP, so since we are actually going to the last round, so SP, do you want to add something at this point?
Yeah, in my organization, we are using AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning for so many internal purpose, especially for managing the human resource. So yeah, so
Okay. Thanks, SP. So Kishomar, you want to add
Yeah,
something?
just throwing out another question. So, okay, see, because of this artificial intelligence and the machine learning come into picture, do you guys think that okay, this project management will have a less requirement or the need of project managers will be less?
not really, Krishna Kumar, but it will help a project manager to handle the project. As KK said, no, it will make easy for the managing the project.
Okay.
The whole thing about you having to make a subjective decision will still rest upon human users, at least for the near foreseeable future, Krishnomar. I
Hello,
don't
can I
see
just respond to the question earlier that will these tools replace the PM? Can I take it to reply to that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
please,
go ahead,
please.
Venu,
Go ahead,
yes.
go ahead, Venu. Yeah, Venu. You can unmute and you can.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'll just take 10 minutes. So actually, it's a very good question, and it is very pertinent for the IT services companies or the IT product also, where people who are above 5 years, they will have a huge problem because they already are in a state called redundancy. And with these tools coming in, it will be very okay for a 3-year-old guy to actually administer that versus anybody crossing 5, because there is a word called law of diminishing return. So if you do not learn in those to that
When we are breaking.
see distribute. That's my personal
Venu,
because those who are actually I've actually seen system on this. Thank you for replying. Thank you.
Venu, your voice was
uh,
breaking in middle.
Yeah, I think what Venu was trying to say was like, with these tools and techniques coming into picture, it would be easy, or it would be rather be possible for even a 3-year-old, 2-year-old experienced project managers to manage what was typically managed by an experienced person. That's
No,
what Venu was
Yes,
saying.
yes, yes.
sorry.
Yeah, but
Sorry,
I
I
have
was
a different.
sorry. I was not articulate. Sorry. A project can be split into two. One, multi-million, anything exceeding a 1K above or 1 million above. The other is typically the projects which are around 500 types and below. That makes the 60% of the number of projects being handled in IT service. My point is, for anything around that 500K, which is actually the bulk of the projects, you actually can replace with a 3 to 5-year-old guy. Why? Because essentially he will have all the traits for that. B, for anything above 500 or say 1K, 1 million above, no chance. Seniority really is valuable there. So that's my view. So I
Yeah,
was just
so
trying to
Venu,
explain why this 500 can be replaced. Sorry. Thank you.
yeah, I have a slightly different opinion there. In the world of automation, if you look at it, there are two phrases. Like one is what you call as the FTE reduction, and the second is what you call as an FTE avoidance. So these two terms like carry like two separate meanings. FTE reduction basically means that you let go of a person who is doing a job because of automation. FTE avoidance basically means that you do not hire additional people to do the work that you typically otherwise would have required an additional headcount to do. So I am basically talking about when I talk about automation, and to answer Krishnomar's question, if somebody is going to lose their job, I don't think they will lose their job, like provided they are still up in the industry with their edges on. But we'll definitely see an FTE avoidance. For example, if there are like 10 projects that your organization used to handle and you required like 4 project managers to do that, with this automation, let's say like there are additional 5 projects that are coming in the next year, you would still ask your 4 project managers to handle those additional 5 projects, because you have now optimized the whole project management using the tools in a way that your current project managers should have additional bandwidth to take additional jobs. So my organization focuses on FT avoidance. We don't deal with FT reduction. But there could be situations in certain organizations where the bottom line is a priority and where they would probably ask the people to let go of the people. But again, subjective decision is something that none of these AI tools or techniques have so far been able to handle effectively like a human user does. So there are still situations, surprises, situations where you really need intuitive thinking, which none of these tools can offer you. So it all depends on how you effectively as a project manager can respond to these surprise situations. How have you demonstrated your abilities in the past handling such situations? If you are a typical manager who deals only with reporting and coordinating, then yes, to Venu's point, you really don't need a project manager. The tool can handle it for you.
That's a good explanation, KK. So at this point, I'm actually coming to Ranganathan. Do you want to add anything on the tools part?
Oh no, nothing.
Okay.
I don't know much about all
Yeah.
this.
So
Thanks.
thanks. Yeah. So I'm just moving to Srikanth. I can see Srikanth joined late, but Srikanth, we are actually coming up with the last round. So do you want to add something at this point, or maybe if you want to add some points, you can. And just a note, like for everybody, like we are actually recorded this session, and I'll be publishing that in my personal YouTube channel. Those who are actually missed the first part, you can actually go through and you can just hear the first part. No worries. So we are actually recording this session. I'll be publishing it maybe today evening itself. Yeah. So Srikanth, your thoughts and your points on tools.
No, Hari, thank you for conducting this meet. I wanted to listen this. That's all. I'm not an expert in this field. Thanks for all speakers who delivered their valuable insights in this matter.
Thank you, Srikanth. Yeah, thanks for joining us and be a good listener over here. And so at this point, I actually want to thank everyone, like in the audience, especially like Venu, Shara, Subramanian, Jayantan, Tiraya, Prashant, Balaji, because they were actually from the first till time, and Ritesh, both, and Sanju actually recently joined, and many were actually Elizabeth and were listening us up to last maybe 15 minutes. So I want to thank them first because they are actually listening as a listeners over here from the first till time. And then I want to thank you all, like all the speakers over here, because as we started with the thought, like nobody is actually perfect and nobody is a perfect person in this world. So we are actually taking everyone's opinions over here. We were discussing on multiple points, and there will be different thoughts from people we are actually following, like maybe that's a wrong way we are actually following, or that's a good way only in our organization or in our current project. That will be the only way we can do. But there are different thoughts and other suggestions coming up with person who are working in this field. So that really gives us value, and on the tools part, that also gives value. So thanks, Shankar, for hearing us from the start and adding more values at the end of the topic. So I especially want to thank Madhu, KK, Krishnamar for leading this session. Like they were actually answering everyone's point and clearing those points, especially. So I want to thank them personally first. And Madhu, especially you, like we actually contacted you last week, and we thought of taking such a discussion over here. So thanks for initiating the start of the discussion. So anyone want to add anything at this point? I'm just opening this platform to say anyone to speak anything. Okay, so if not, yeah, Krishnamar. Okay, Krishnamar.
No, I was just saying we are almost covered almost everything, right?
Yes. So this was actually a really great thing. Like we actually planned it for 2 hours. Like we started at 11 o'clock, and we thought of like we'll be winding it by 1 o'clock. So we are on time. That's actually the beauty of all the successful project managers here, or the all the persons over here, because you all are now right now a successful project manager, maybe I can say like that, because we winded up on time with a lot of rounds, with lot of iterative rounds, like we discussed on more points, like how to become a successful project manager, how his role is defined, and what are the pain points that he should be discussed, or what are the pain he should be taking in his shoulders, and whether he is the responsibility of a successful organization, and what are the tools we should be using, or how it differs from organization to organization, how the certification matters. So we talked on all these points. So thank you once again for all to join over here and other place to talk. And I want one more point to add here, like kindly follow me and kindly follow other place to talk club, so that I can make you as moderators, or maybe I can make you as the room creators. So just come up with more thoughts like this, which are actually relevant in our portion, or maybe in our day-to-day life. We were discussing anything under the sky in other place to talk. So you all are welcome to take such discussions, which will really motivate you to take something, or if you really help others, like they can you, if you can enlighten something, or if you will be get enlightened with others thoughts, that's already means welcome in this platform. So thank you once again. Thank you all. Have a great rest of the week. Say, Rangadanji, you want to add something?
No, just one trivial observation. Correct me if I am wrong, because this is one of the, I mean, this only Adda talk which I heard everything in English, no, nothing in Hindi or Malayalam. Though 95 or 99% of the people in this room were Malayalis, not a single Malayalam word I heard.
No, that's actually
I,
because, yeah, that's I will clarify that point.
I'm not saying it is good or bad. I'm not saying it is good or bad of it.
Yeah.
I'm just telling it's just a trivial observation.
No worries, no worries. I will just clarify that point.
Consciously, we all got transported to one of our client meetings or office meetings.
Whatever. I'm just telling. Generally, Adda talk will have a lot of Malayalam also.
Yeah.
Most in Malayalam and less in English. But this time, not even no Hindi, no Malayalam. Purely English.
Yeah, because in the at the start of this discussion, we actually means we got many persons from outside, even outside Kerala, outside India. So that's why we actually started with English, and even I can see many persons and Subramaniam Gavashkar and Tiranya Bordi, everybody is here on the audience. So I feel like they all can't understand Malayalam maybe. So that's why we actually prefer for a common language. And in Adda,
it benefited everybody. It benefited everybody. That's a plus point.
Yeah, and in Adda there is no limitation. Like if you want to take something in Hindi, you are most welcome, and you can bring up with your friends over here. And if you want to talk in Malayalam, you can come up with your friends, and we can actually talk over here. Adda is a place where exactly the people can come and talk over a coffee or a meal or something like that. So Addas are there in North India. I think so, because I haven't got a chance to meet such Addas there. But I got this word as from Google, like Adda is a place where the people gather together to share their thoughts and get enlightened. So that's why we actually given this name for this club. So that's a great observation, Rangananji. Thanks for highlighting that.